A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Every year, the parents of Jesus used to go to Jerusalem for the feast of the Passover. When he was 12 years old, they went up for the feast as usual. When they were on their way home after the feast, the boy, Jesus, stayed behind in Jerusalem without his parents knowing it. They assumed he was with the caravan, and it was only after a day's journey that they went to look for him among their relations and acquaintances. When they failed to find him, they went back to Jerusalem looking for him everywhere. 3 days later, they found him in the temple, sitting among the doctors, listening to them and asking them questions. And all those who heard him were astounded at his intelligence and his replies. They were overcome when they saw him, and his mother said to him, "My child, why have you done this to us? See how worried your father and I have been looking for you." "Why were you looking for me?" he replied. "Did you not know that I must be busy with my father's affairs?" But they didn't understand what he meant. He then went down with them and came to Nazareth and lived under their authority. His mother stored up all these things in her heart. Jesus increased in wisdom, in stature, and in favor with God and men. Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Families. Whether we like it or not, we are all part of families. And the Christmas period is a time when we, for various reasons, decide to squish ourselves all into the family business for a short and intense period, and then we wonder why it's tears before bedtime. Families, for most of us, include those who are no longer with us, those who can't be with us. They might be in the home country, in Uganda or China. For those, there might be people in your family who you haven't, for various reasons, spoken to for the last 17 years, although you can't even remember why it is you didn't speak to them. Families might be a place where betrayal has occurred, where a misunderstanding has developed into animosity, anger, and conflict. We live, my dear people, in a fallen world. That's why we need baby Jesus. If we lived in a perfect world, it would be tickety-boo, but we don't live in a perfect world. We're not about to live in a perfect world. We as Christians are passing through this world on our way to a place where things are perfect. As I said in my Christmas homilies, we need to regain that sense of the supernatural. Christianity is not about tea and sympathy. Christianity is the most extraordinary inbreaking of God into this material world which he created, and he did so because we cocked up badly. I love history. I'm reading a book at the moment about the history of the world since 1945, and it's an utter catalogue of greed, wickedness, power, murder. And that's just the last 70 years. But the good news, and it is his good news, is that there is another way of living, a different way of living from the way in which so many other people do, and that's by obedience to God. Not a very popular word, obedience, Wives, be obedient to your husbands. Christians, be obedient to God. We need to reclaim what that means. The word obedience means listening. And when you've heard, you've got to decide what do you intend to do about it. So when Mummy says clean your teeth, we hear that, and then it's our responsibility to decide, what am I going to do about it? Well, what I'll do is I'll just rub a little bit of toothpaste on my mouth and go at her, and she'll think I've cleaned my teeth. Ring any bells? Welcome to the fallen nature of human beings. But I want us to focus on what Paul has written to the church in Colossae. He says, you, that's you lot, you are God's chosen race, his saints. He loves you, and you should be clothed in sincere compassion, in kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. It's because Almighty God has loved us, has created us, has blessed us through baptism, that we should behave a little bit better. We should do what he tells us to do. Commandments. Oh, I don't like that. I'd rather like to make my own choice up. You know what I mean? Because it's true for me and not true for you. No. God asks us, tells us, demands of us, do this. And we don't. And there are consequences. Look around you. The family that we belong to here as a parish, that's a way of looking at the church, as a parish, our family should be a place in which kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience is grown. We should bear with one another, forgive each other as soon as a quarrel begins, not 14 years later. Things like gossip, quick judgment of other people, paying attention to other people's behavior in Mass rather than what the priest is saying. These are all things we should not be doing. And it is within our power, to some extent, to do that. If you find yourself unable to do good things, then ask God for the grace to improve you. We need, in our parish communities, to be better this Christmas than we were last Christmas. To be better next Christmas than we are this Christmas. Because we're supposed to be moving towards Almighty God. And if we are prepared to be humble enough, and humility is about truth, I haven't cleaned my teeth, I've just smeared the toothpaste on my mouth. No, I will clean my teeth, not just because Mummy tells me to, but because it's a good thing to do. Remember the dentist. There are always consequences to our behavior. And although in this fallen world, being kind, being generous, being forgiving, being forbearing, thinking well of each other, being patient is difficult, nevertheless, it's the right thing to do. Any old fool can argue, shout, swear, punch people, steal, commit adultery. But we are not any old fools. We are the chosen race of God. We are his saints. In the preface to part of the Mass, the priest chooses and uses the words, something which goes like, who made us holy. You are a holy people. Not a perfect people, but a holy people. And that holiness is something that needs to grow. I've said it to you before. We all need to grow up, even people who are overweight and 60. I have a lot of growing up to do. I need to improve my patience. I need to ask God for the grace to like certain people in the parish who I don't naturally like. Christianity isn't about liking. What Christianity is about is allowing the grace of God to change my natural inclinations into divine love, caritas, so that I love her at 43 because she is God's daughter, regardless of the fact that I might have feelings about her. We need, my dear people, certainly in this Christmas time, and perhaps by the crib, we need to pray to Almighty God that he will give us greater patience, kindness, humility, gentleness, compassion, forgiveness. Because, as Paul writes to the church in Colossae, you are God's chosen, his saints.